Ladies and gentlemen, the existence of John Durham's investigation, the fact that it exists, was bolstered or was furthered by the special counsel's testimony the other day. I should say that his testimony proved that John Durham is engaged in a criminal probe, an investigation into the previous administration to see if former officials like Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, and even the President Obama, his administration, the investigation is whether or not the previous administration did everything possible to frame and set up a duly elected president in Trump, President-elect Trump. First of all, the notion that the DNC being allegedly infiltrated, the notion that is national security, when if it happened against Republicans, they would not care. They don't have a value system. They're complete hypocrites on every issue, especially what they're going after Trump on recently, which we don't have to get into. But if the RNC was hacked by China or Russia or any country, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. They'd be like, too bad for you, you lost. You think the Clinton administration, you think if the RNC was allegedly hacked and they showed that they had cheated Donald Trump to get Jeb Bush and they lost with Jeb Bush, and then Clinton won, and it was Bush versus Clinton. Do you think that they would have a special counsel? You think the Democrats would want a special counsel into the Clinton administration to see if she colluded with another country because Jeb Bush lost? Because emails were released that showed that the RNC cheated Trump? I mean, if the reverse were true, and if President Trump purchased, if candidate Trump purchased a dossier that said that the Golden Muumuu, Madam Cyberhack, enjoys bodily fluids raining down upon her. Enjoy the visual this Sunday. And that was used by a Republican administration to investigate Clinton because the Republican-appointed FBI chief and other intel chiefs and agencies said, China hacked the election to inform the country that Trump was cheated, and they were embarrassing emails to the GOP. I mean, it's important to flip the script. Do you think they would say, this is an attack on our democracy by Xi Jinping? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't care. They have politicized everything to the point where they've actually harmed national security because Clinton actually made a mockery of the intelligence agencies, a complete and utter mockery. And she stored top secret and special access program intelligence on servers. So when they talk about Ivanka's emails, oh my God, she didn't have servers outside of the United States government. And why do you think they're talking about Ivanka's emails or emails in the Trump administration? Because they want everything morally relative. Because to them, they don't even know that Clinton had top secret and special access program intelligence on servers. Look, you're dealing with a Democratic Party. Well, I'll just read you this. John Radcliffe. Mueller could not testify about Obama-Russia question because DOJ is investigating. Daniel Chayton, great journalist for the Washington Examiner. A leading Republican investigator surmised that Robert Mueller was restrained from speaking about whether the Obama administration was influenced by the Russians because of an ongoing Justice Department investigation. John Durham's investigation. After the former special counsel testified about his Russia investigation, Representative John Radcliffe told Fox News' Brett Baer that British ex-spy Christopher Steele's dossier was off limits because U.S. Attorney John Durham and Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz are looking into how it was used by federal agents. Quote, what we know, what we don't know, and what we don't answer, what Mueller didn't answer today was whether or not that sweeping and systematic effort influenced the Obama administration. Did they use a false dossier to surveil an American citizen and thereby influence an election? That was something that Bob Mueller wasn't willing to address today, and I think John Durham and the folks at the Justice Department will be looking at that. The ODNI and DHS reports, the two intelligence reports that came before Mueller, had warranty disclaimers that I always read. Judgments should not be confused as fact. High confidence assessments might be wrong. The Department of Homeland Security does not provide any warranties or guarantees. The intelligence agencies have literally stated they do not state anything with certainty. The only thing they're certain about is that they're not certain that Russia even hacked the DNC. This notion of interference is ridiculous. It's so absurd. And that's the last bastion of this conspiratorial nonsense. I think we'll get the IG report probably sometime after Labor Day. I think John Durham just got started, but I think there's a lot to look at here. Okay, so, and he goes on to talk about, okay, they didn't interfere in the election, just like President Trump didn't obstruct justice. There's always a plan B and a plan C and a plan D for Democrats, because they have the media to fall back on, and they have Twitter to fall back on. But the media and social media, this is not reality. That's why when they say, oh my God, did you see what Trump said? The average American doesn't care. They don't care. Because they're tired of being judged by Democrats. They're tired. And I'm talking about people of all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, all different skin colors. They're tired of being judged by 29-year-olds who are in Congress and who are in media. They're tired. The average American doesn't care what a 32-year-old or a 29-year-old liberal who thinks he or she has moral stature or a moral foundation or is morally superior to everyone else. They don't care because they know the truth. These people cheated Bernie Sanders. They have totally forgotten / tried to erase that from history. Then they blamed Russia. Then they said it was Trump and Russia colluding. Now they admit there's no collusion. Now the last bastion of conspiratorial theory they're holding on to is, well, Russia interfered. Really, how did they interfere? Well, they hacked the DNC. Oh, so you're saying that Bernie was cheated? Those emails caused Debbie Wasserman Schultz to resign. Well, no. Bernie was given every chance to win. Clinton was a much better candidate. She won the primary. So then what was wrong with the emails? Why did Debbie Wasserman Schultz resign? Then you have the androids short circuit on that one. The Democrats won't know what to say if you just simply say, well, then why, if Russia interfered by hacking the DNC to inform the country that Bernie was cheated, was Bernie cheated? Oh my God, they won't be able to answer that question. No, he wasn't cheated. He was given every chance and Clinton won fair and square, but those emails were interfering in the election because they were embarrassing. Well, why were they embarrassing? Why did Debbie Wasserman Schultz, why was she forced to resign? Everyone knows that it's the truth. What's the truth? What's the truth? Well, the Facebook ads and Twitter bots. Are you kidding me? Even during the election, you should look. Here's a little insight from H.A. Goodman on what it was like to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, which is basically like one of the violinists on the Titanic. I was one of the people rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. I was a part of like 100. I'm not joking. Like almost like what? Probably 50 or 60 Bernie Sanders groups on Facebook. The day that, first of all, when people found out he was cheated, it was like turmoil. But then the day that he was forced out and Clinton was the nominee, or, the day that she clinched it, it was like, or she was the presumptive nominee, which presumptive means something. But anyway, all of these Facebook groups, it was really sad, and it was really, thank God Trump won. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm voting for Trump. But what took place is you had all of these people on Facebook in these different groups. It was like the world had collapsed, / you have to fall in line. And there were some people who weren't falling in lines. And most people were like, hey, you have to fall in line. We can't allow Trump. Da, da, da. But it was like a sense of betrayal. I think a lot of people felt a sense of betrayal from Bernie Sanders, and just a sense of betrayal from the Democratic Party. But that didn't last. It was just a lot of turmoil within these Facebook groups. That didn't last. It was then Orange Man bad, and the last kind of bastion of anyone willing to fight back were the Bernie Sanders supporters. Then they were pacified or forced to, generally forced to fall in line like everyone else. I think the last people were the Green Party people, but then they're like the last holdouts. They didn't care at all, just like the Bernie or bust people. But then you get, Clinton only lost because people wouldn't vote for her and because of the Russians. And at the end of the day, you have the opposite is true. The opposite is true. They cheated. They lost after they cheated. It was a stunning a political catastrophe. A $1.2 billion down the drain, down the toilet. They didn't know what to do, but they had an insurance policy, which was what Peter Strzok talked about. And Peter Strzok was fired by Mueller. And now we know that Mueller let go of Peter Strzok. So Peter Strzok can't say, there was no bias there, because he was let go by Mueller. So was Lisa Page. We know that Andrew McCabe is under criminal investigation. Who's the other guy? Well, I mentioned his name a million times. The FBI legal counsel, James Baker, under criminal investigation. We know all of these people now. James Comey is committed perjury numerous times. He said, it was a unanimous decision to not indict Clinton. No, it wasn't. James Baker wanted to. He said, and Lisa Page did. Then he said, I didn't write the letter exonerating Clinton until after the interview. No, he wrote the letter prior to the interview. And Peter Strzok deleted 5 references to gross negligence, which would have sent Clinton to the big house. And then Peter Strzok set up and framed Michael Flynn, along with Andrew McCabe. President Trump should pardon Michael Flynn tomorrow. This is one of the original sins, or I should say one of the biggest mistakes Trump ever made was letting Michael Flynn go. One of the biggest mistakes. He should have kept Michael Flynn and said, you know what? We're gonna battle this out. What do you have? And the whole thing would have imploded. See, Trump is not the bully. The bullies are the media, Hollywood, corrupt intelligence officials, but they don't see it that way. They're the most duplicitous, disingenuous. They cheat. Bernie Sanders. Then you get a guy like Bernie Sanders who, it's unbelievable, the cowardice. It's just unbelievable. You don't have to be a hero all the time. In fact, in life, you can't be a hero all the time. You can't. To survive, you have to... I understand you have to protect your family. You have to go ahead and maybe if you feel like... In life, what I'm trying to say is that you can't always be the hero. I'm not saying that Bernie Sanders should have. He didn't have to say that the whole Russia thing is a hoax and it's bogus and it's nonsense and it's all linked to Clinton. Because people on the left, when they say that it was a hoax, bogus, great, but they should also add that it was basically purchased by Clinton. But Bernie Sanders could have simply walked away and said, I'm not going to foment and bolster this nonsense. I'm not going to help create a new Red Scare, this McCarthy-era Red Scare tactic, this Cold War nonsense. The Russians want this. There are people who really believe this. This is Obama's administration presided over the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity to Russia. 20%! At that point, 1/5 of U.S. uranium capacity. They technically owned or own mines within the U.S. And they're worried about Facebook ads, and they've gotten people completely programmed with this nonsense. So it's not about, it doesn't matter if Mueller faltered and he was a catastrophe, a public relations nightmare. It doesn't matter that Andrew McCabe and James Baker are under criminal investigation. Peter Strzok is disgraced and fired, along with his friends with benefits, Lisa Page. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that enough people have been completely programmed to believe that Clinton lost because she was cheated. Now she's running again. All of this is to pave the way for Clinton 2020. And we'll all see this as a country, as a nation. We'll all see this. And then we'll say, God, that's why. That's why she was able to purchase the Steele dossier, and Alexander Downer is linked to the Clinton Foundation, and CrowdStrike was outsourced by Democrats, and there was 19 Democrats on the Mueller team, and 12 of them gave, or I think 5 or 6 of them gave tens of thousands of dollars in donations to Clinton and Democrats and President Obama. And you have the most partisan people, not one MAGA head, not a one Trump voter. And when she runs, only you and me and people like President Trump and Jim Jordan and John Ratcliffe and Louis Gohmert and Matt Gaetz and people who, Tom Fitton, John Solomon, Dan Bongino, Black Conservative Patriot, Kimberly Strassel, Sarah Carter, Joe DeGeneva, Victoria Tenzing, Paul Sperry, Catherine Herridge, she's great at Fox, Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, and there are going to be voices that are going to say, wait a second, she's running again, and all of this was to pave the way, because I use the phrase original sin. They ceased to become a political party when they cheated Bernie Sanders. Here's the dirty little secret of Democrats. They ceased to become a political party. They were no longer a political party because there's a certain aspect of meritocracy. There's a certain element of meritocracy within political parties. That's the whole reason you have a primary, is to just get the best candidate. Okay, well, they didn't care about that. They didn't care about that because the political party was actually merged with one of the candidates. They had a secret agreement that Donna Brazile spoke about, where there was a fundraising, like Clinton's PACs would fundraise with the DNC. And Clinton had hiring authority even on the communications director. And when Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign, she went worked for Clinton on her campaign. And I believe Debbie Wasserman Schultz was head of her 2008 campaign. I mean, the whole thing was beyond rigged. It was not a political party. It was supposed to be a coronation, didn't work out. People actually had their own thought process. And the whole thing caved and it imploded. Then you have James Comey entering into the picture with Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them. And they had the media. And now you have university professors. You have intelligent people. You have attorneys. You have doctors who really believe the Russians interfered in the election. And they can't tell you how many people. These are people who live by data and logic and reason. And if you ask them, well, how many people didn't vote because of a Facebook ad, they won't give you an answer. They'll just say, well, we don't know, but it was interference. And then if you ask them, well, how do you know it's interference? Why would Russia want Trump over Clinton? That makes no sense. Well, because NATO. Because NATO. Well, what did NATO do? The Western alliances. He wants to degrade Western alliances. What did these Western alliances do for Georgia or for the Ukraine? Or for any border? If you're bordering Russia, well, if you're a former Soviet bloc nation, NATO's not going to do anything. So what's the big? Oh well, what did Bush do? What did Obama do? Nothing. What would Clinton have done? Absolutely nothing. You think Clinton would have, in terms of foreign policy, you think she would have been the first president to step foot in North Korea? No way. No, not a chance. Not a chance. Thank God Trump won for that alone. You think there'd be record low unemployment? Not a chance. She wouldn't have cut taxes the way Trump did. You can't say that Clinton would have had just as good of an economy if she didn't engage in what Trump engaged in. I mean, this is just basic logic. And then you have, you see what he's saying? Well, you didn't care what Clinton said. She said and did far worse. And, oh, by the way, President Obama drank Flint water, which is worse than any tweet Trump has ever tweeted. And he actually destroyed a country called Libya. But, oh, my God, he literally engaged in a NATO intervention, led the NATO intervention. It was an American intervention. We control NATO. There's no other country. We control NATO. And it was an intervention that caused tremendous suffering, chaos, mayhem, civil conflict that's still ongoing today. Look at what's going on. There's civil conflict today in Libya. That's the legacy of the President Obama's Nobel Peace Prize years. But Trump called a country a poop hole, and oh my God, he's the epitome of, horrible, Trump racism. They have no context. That's why they're like suffocating on the fumes of their own outrage. They don't care. You have CNN people, weeping. You have every single day Trump is playing them. Trump is warping their minds to where they're begging. I think he's doing it on purpose so they just beg for Clinton. He's paving the way for Clinton. He's getting, Twitter is like a beehive. It's like a wasp. See, would it be a wasp hive? Let's see. Those things are nasty. A wasp hive, okay? A wasp nest. Sorry. And he's just constantly poking and prodding, and you just he's like he's like this cauldron that's bubbling up. And he's getting them. He's manipulating their emotions every single day because people wake up and it's an addiction on the left. They wake up every day and they just like, who can I get into an argument with and say that I'm morally superior to? And they have their funny, ridiculous, dumb names. So-and-so's proctologist, Franz Gardner. Oh, I'm a socialist. Oh, I'm an anarchist. Oh. And they'll vote Clinton when she runs. It'll be the best. It'll be the best because then when they talk about Trump, and usually what Trump said, the litany of things Clinton has said and done. Oh, my God, it won't be enough. Can't erase, 20, 30 years, you might as well be talking about Roman history with Democrats. They don't even know. If something's 5 years old, it's like they've forgotten it. They have zero concept of history. And the hashtag never again that these leftists use, and I use the word leftists like that these people with zero concept of history, absolutely zero. You have these dumb people. It started with words. No, it didn't. It started with anti-Semitism, which is what the Democrats stand for, or at least the couple members of the squad. Read my Jerusalem Post op-ed below, talking about how shameful and how horrendous AOC's words are regarding the phrase cultural appropriation. This is historical appropriation. You take the most barbaric and brutal and atrocious time. I mean, the unspeakable cruelty and in the 20th century, and then you package it up into some 29-year-old political soundbite, and then you have people. I obviously can't speak about it in the terms I want to, but it's in my Jerusalem Post op-ed. Share that everywhere. And no concept of history. It's historical appropriation, but it's okay. It's okay if you're on the left, you get away with it. You get away with it, and the best thing that could ever happen to this country, and actually to the left, is Clinton running, because she'll implode and completely obliterate the Democratic Party, which will be fantastic. And we need John Durham to start indicting people. William Barr is on the case as well. Well, I should say we need William Barr and John Durham to start indicting people. I think that happens after Clinton runs and loses. They have nobody. The exhumed body, affectionately called as Botox Biden, he's, what's going on there? Who knows what's going on there? I mean, who thinks that he's going to be nominated? There's no way. He doesn't even, he got 1% in Iowa in 08. He's never been a serious contender for the president. He's never, ever been. He's been a fixture within the Democratic Party, but he's never been a serious contender for the presidency. Why he would be this year? So we already know that California Senator from Willie Brown, nope, not going to happen. Who? Bernie? Democrats, there are Democrats, and I'm not joking, that despise Bernie more than they despise Trump. This is the truth. So his candidacy is not going anywhere. Warren? What? 1/1,000,000th? Failed her DNA test? No, I don't think so. Beto mi nombre es Beto. Then you have Kristen Gillibrand, fill out this survey. You ever see, sometimes I have the commercials on my fill out this survey. It is really helpful for our campaign. I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. Kristen Gillibrand could walk into any restaurant in the country. Nobody would know who she is. Nobody would know. And nobody would care. Same with Beto O'Rourke. Really, I mean, maybe you recognize him, but he kind of looks like a lot of people. You might recognize Beto O'Rourke. But you put Biden in a hat and without the entourage and glasses, I don't think anybody would really be like, oh my God, there's this, person. Is he okay? Anyway, give me your thoughts below. You should look at all of this and just ask yourself, who benefits from these things? Who benefits from the Steele dossier? It's not Warren. Who benefits? Clinton. She purchased it. So, who benefits from everything we've experienced as a country? Both of them, Bill and Hillary. And why would they relinquish power when they have already a base of tens of millions of people who will vote for them in a heartbeat? And especially with what Trump is doing right now, Trump is manipulating their emotions. He's driving them completely batty. He's driving them batty. And then, I'm not going to get into it, but, the underlying problems that he's bringing up, no one cares about. They're like, oh my God, he used this word, and this word correlates to this. What about the problems, the issues that he actually brought up? It's a crude way. Yeah, he brings it up in a crude manner. But he's not distorting historical record. He's in a crude manner saying something, but that's the Democratic Party. It's interesting too because they don't know they're losing, but they can just continue to fail. And they've been so accustomed to spinning failure into some kind of victory that they're just going to go running gleefully towards the edge of a cliff again with Clinton. And she's going to lose. And who knows how they're going to react. It could be... It's frightening to think what they'll do to regain power, and it's frightening to think how they'll react when they lose again. And the somewhat amusing thing is that they're not going to have the corrupt intelligence officials to break the fall. And then once Madam Cyberhack completely torches the Democratic Party, who do they have left? Spartacus? Who do they have? 1/1,000,000th? They have nobody. There's nobody waiting in the wings. They have nobody. And I'll tell you who the two people they have. People there's Tulsi Gabbard, but the current Democratic Party will never allow her to obtain any power because she's against interventions. And then you have all the Bush neocons in the Democratic Party who are like Trump, they're the Joe Scarborough type people. You know what? Honestly, everyone, I regret that I was ever a Republican. Don't worry, Republicans regret you were also a Republican. But you have Tulsi Gabbard, who's great. You have Connor Lamb, who's a veteran. I just remember Connor Lamb, he's a Democrat in Pennsylvania. And he was not anti-gun, he wasn't anti-religion. He was more of a Midwest. Well, anyway, the Democrats are they're going to probably become that type of political party around Tulsi Gabbard and Connor Lamb. And less of the moralizing and the condemnation and the judging and the preaching and all this nonsense. Give me your thoughts below. This is after, of course, Clinton tanks the whole thing, which will be very amusing to see. Give me your thoughts below. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below in the pinned comment. To my latest Patreons, thank you so very, very, very much. I'm going to thank you individually in another segment, but thank you. And please read my Jerusalem Post op-ed below and read my Federalist article below that was shared by Rush Limbaugh 2 days in a row. Thank you.